Hello and what's up everyone, it's Thunderbob here, and I am continuing my playthrough of the Diablo 2 Resurrected patch 2.4, which just hit the PTR. I've been basically going through and testing out different new skills that have been changed and modified builds and different things, and I'm going to be continuing doing this probably in the next week or two. Um, so far I've done like Hydra, Blaze, Summon Druid, Strafazon. If you want to check out any of them, I'll have a playlist with all those together. But tonight we are looking at an AURADIN. This build specifically is based around Holy Fire and Holy Shock. Though you do not actually run these skills yourself, you are running Conviction, and you get these auras from your items. This is a single player build. This is a very high-end, expensive build. But it is a very fun build, maybe one of my favorites, and they've made it considerably better. So the biggest change is Holy Fire had its damage increased substantially. And I'm going to show you how this looks maxed out with this character in just a moment, just to show you the damage scaling, and then we'll come back. Okay, just to compare the two auras. So I maxed out Resist Fire, Resist Lightning, and Salvation. Put 20 into Holy Fire and Holy Shock, and I realize I don't have like maxed plus skills on this character, but just to give you an idea, the scaling. So this is doing 2700 to 3400 to your attack, or this is doing 1 to 6000 to your attack. About 3000 average damage in Holy Shock, and I'd say that's about 3000 Holy Fire average damage. And then the Aura Pulse damage, 464 to 1162, and 1 to 5,947. So about 3,000, a little bit less than 3,000. Excuse me, 1 to 1,982. So a little bit less than 1,000 average lightning damage pulse versus 464 to 1162. So that's probably like 750, 800 average damage. So the pulse on Holy Shock actually has a higher high-end damage and a higher average from what I can see here. But they've definitely brought them closer in line with each other. Okay, so that was just to give you an idea. So I think Holy Fire has been improved. It seems like it's basically been brought in line with Holy Shock, which is definitely where it should have been. Holy Freeze makes sense to be a little bit less damaging just because it is also slowing all of your enemies, but Holy Fire and Holy Shock, there really wasn't much else different about them, so it didn't make much sense for Holy Shock to do so much more damage. I still think Holy Shock probably does a little bit more damage, though there's a much larger variation in its damage range. But let's go ahead and look at the setup here and the skills and everything, and then we'll get moving. So we're running Hand of Justice, Dream, Dragon, and Dream. Hand of Justice and Dragon give you the Holy Fire aura. Dream and Dream give you the Holy Shock aura. These, from my understanding, stack unless something's been changed in this patch. I've got High Lords, running a Bolkethos and a Raven, Arachnid's Mesh, which actually I could probably replace. I don't think that's the best for this build, but that's what I got on them. Gore Riders for the Crushing Blow, Deadly Strike, and Open Wounds, and some really cool crafted gloves. Yeah. So we're going to see how this build runs. As far as the skills go, I've got maxed out all of the synergies for those skills, because the item-based auras, they do take advantage of your synergies. You don't actually have to put any points in them directly, though I did have to put at least one in each to go down to Conviction. And I maxed this to 25 with plus skills to get the negative 150 to all enemy resistance. And then here I got down to Holy Shield. I put 1 point in Zeal and my remaining points in Sacrifice. Actually, I got 1 point left, so we'll go right there. You get more benefit from Sacrifice than you do Zeal. And this is just to get some extra physical damage and the extra attack rating, and just that faster attack rather than, normal attack or something. Very, very similar to the Tesladin build, except for that build I would have dropped Resist Fire, and I would have put 20 in Zeal and maybe the remainder in Holy Shield at that point. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to check this build out. I think I might run a couple different areas, maybe Chaos Sanctuary, maybe do a quick Bale run. I don't know, we'll get squirrely here. And this build is usually pretty effective. You know, actually, I'll probably do cows also, and probably player 8 cows. I'm going to start doing cows. We're going to do player 1 cows, just because I want to see how ridiculous this build can be. And then I think I'm going to do player 8, maybe Chaos Sanctuary or Bale, or maybe both. But I really want to just see if this will one-shot the cows. That very high range on the lightning means sometimes it triggers for several thousand and sometimes it triggers for nothing. So you can see like the high variance of damage going on here. That's a lot of fun. I don't even have to attack. That's really what I wanted out of this build, is just to be able to run around and just watch everything die, and this is... it's almost there. And this is player 1 difficulty, and player 8, I don't think that's going to be as possible. You're talking several hundred times, 100% of the health here, but... I just gotta get all the cows. This is probably one of my favorite builds. This is like a toss-up between this, the Tesla, and the Dragon Paladin. They're all very similar. This is kind of a combination of both of them. And then you actually deal more damage with your attack than the aura, of course. But I'm just letting the aura do its thing. But like if I attack, everything just instantly melts. And then I also trigger those Hydras, which I don't think the damage got buffed on them, because, you know, they're non-synergized and everything, but it's just fun to have a bunch of those out, too. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm definitely going to have to jump into player 8 and just see how noticeable it is there, but... Tesladin is one of the best builds in the game. It's a very unorthodox build, like, similar to Bear Sorceress, how crazy Bear Sorceress can get at the very high end. Actually, I think Bear Sorceress is maybe better. The synergies, I should say the masteries that the Sorceress have just scale the damage. And I really want to try Dragon on a Sorceress, because I wonder if the Fire Mastery will scale it as insanely as it does the Dream Aura. I didn't show you stats, but I'm basically running minimal strength just to wear gear, enough dexterity to max my block chance, and then the rest in vitality, just to give you an idea. I can't even get to them before they're dying. I think I might go and try this in Chaos Sanctuary. There's a good density there, and just see how it does in player 8 difficulty. One of the beautiful things about this is there's really no immunities that you can't deal with also, because you're doing crazy lightning damage, you're doing crazy fire damage, and then if somehow you run into a dual immunity, you're doing like okay physical damage. Like, it's not amazing with this thing, but you know, you're doing enough to kill 1 or 2 dual immunities. Alright, let's jump into Chaos Sanctuary. Okay, here we go. And remember, I am not running Enigma. You know, Dragon does require you to wear that armor. So I'm going to be huffing it here. And this is definitely not a cheap build. This, in fact, is maybe one of the most expensive builds I've ever covered, and I think for that cost you get something pretty amazing. Actually, let me go ahead and turn players 8 on before I get up there. But this is a very, very costly build. You know, like multiple high runes, many, many high runes. This is probably something you'd be working towards, you know, an entire ladder season, or several, you know, several months or years, depending on your playstyle. Like, on Battle.net, I've only gotten a couple of high runes in my playtime, and you know, this character still is eluding me. Like, I've got a Smite Paladin, Smite Zealot Paladin, and my goal in the end is to turn it into like a Tesla Din or a Dragon Din, depending on how things pan out here. But I'm not there yet. I'm using like Grief and a few other high-end items, but that Tesla Din gear is definitely the most costly part of it. Look at all those Hydras going. And here we're running into some immunities. So, like, if you run into a fire or a lightning immune, your damage is basically cut in half. But it's still enough to get through them. And your Zeal is dealing enough damage to deal with the dual immunities, and also giving you enough damage that you're kind of leeching decently. I actually don't have any mana leech right now. Zeal is such a cheap skill, and I just didn't have a dual leech ring to throw on him right this second. So that would be something to definitely try to obtain, dual leech ring, or because, like, looking at the gear, I mean, that the helm, the armor, like, those slots are pretty much taken up. If you're using Hand of Justice, again, no leech on that. So, and then you want Ravenfrost for the immunity to frost, to freezing. Doesn't leave you with much of a spot to get your needed mana steal. So, something to think about. I probably should have switched out belts. I probably would run like Verdungu or maybe String of Ears or something. Yeah, this is a fun one. I don't know if it's quite as good as a Hammered In or like a really, really high-end like Blizzard Source or something like that, but it definitely holds its own in player 8 difficulty. I can't kill that guy.
I can't carry anymore.
It's a mana potion. And actually, out of all the builds I've probably tried, this is maybe the most fun tonight. Like, I had a lot of fun with the Strafe Amazon, and the new Hydra is just amazingly fun without the cooldown. I love that. I really hope they don't change that. But these abilities, especially since you deal extra damage up close, that was another change. So they increased the damage to Holy Fire substantially, but they also gave it like a secondary effect where these skills can do between 100 and 200% damage based on your proximity to your enemy. So, like, it gives you an incentive to move on close to your target. I don't know exactly what that proximity is yet. I don't think they've given those numbers out, but if you're using Zeal, you're probably close enough to hit that 200%, I would assume. And my attack rating's pretty low, but with this Conviction aura, I should be hitting, you know, close to 90%, I would say. Like, I'm not whiffing much. And that aura, I would say, it's not quite doing enough damage to just kill everything in player 8 difficulty, but it's holding its own. In player 1 difficulty, though, God, that's amazing. Like, you could for real just walk through cows and let them die. That's amazing.
Not even death can save you from me.
Let's see if it's still bugged. There's been issues where the bosses seem to be taking way more damage than they're supposed to. Or I should say, we're dealing way less damage than we're supposed to them. So I think I read Crushing Blow was working like it was supposed to. I've got a little bit of Crushing Blow here in the Gore Raiders. Player 8 difficulty, it's hard to know. I haven't run this character in Player 8 in a while. Alright, well, I think I'll end it here. Definitely one of my favorite classes, one of my favorite builds, the Tesladin, the Dragon Paladin, the AURADIN, all variations of it, very fun. And now actually I think the Dragon Paladin is pretty comparable to the Dream Paladin, just looking at those base numbers. I'll have to look at how they all scale, but assuming those numbers scale up the same, they're pretty comparable, the two of them. So if you enjoyed this video, I have a whole bunch of Diablo 2 content on the channel. I've got a whole playlist full of 2.4 build videos I'm putting together. If you want to see anything else, just let me know. I've got a ton of save files with a bunch of different setups already, and I will be doing more in the future. If you like this video, please do consider subscribing. Thanks again, and have a great night.